Welcome to the Electric Current Rundown podcast number 3 with your host, Phil Defiance. And I'll always say, I'm here to encourage the spread of intriguing knowledge that can spark fires in the minds of those seeking inspiration and truly improving the world. And the topics I'll be covering today include, are we in a second Gilded Age? That's a good question, and I'll get into that based on some information I read and my own thoughts on that. And then, other than that, I'm going to also talk a little bit about a global natural gas boom that's beginning to take shape. So, okay, well, either way, this is my third episode, and this is a bonus. It's a short episode. This one's going to be 10 minutes. Of course, I just released my second one on schedule according to my website, electriccurrentrundown.com. Every Tuesday, I release an official episode, 15 minutes, like I just did. But now, this one's just a 10-minute one. But okay, let me get right into a big topic right here about, are we in a second Gilded Age? Like, some people are wondering about that, and that's a good question. I mean, like, okay, so, like, I mean, let me just, like, put it into context here. Just over 100 years ago, society was in what is known as a Gilded Age. I'm going to get into what that really was, and based on an article I read comparing that time to the world today, an opinion that we are now in a second Gilded Age, and my thoughts of whether it's really true, and my thoughts on the topic overall. So let me get right into it. Yes, like about 130 years ago or so, there was something called the Gilded Age, and really what it was about how there was a income disparity. Like, a lot of people were living in the best of times, and then a lot of people were not. And I mean, okay, so like you could compare that to today. Like, a lot of billionaires exist, like about 1,000 or maybe more. And like, other than that, there's hundreds of millions of people that are not even close to billionaires. So, I mean, that makes some people wonder, like, is this a repeat of history? I mean, that's a good point. It's a valid point. But like, the source of that information came from the previous presidential administration. That was the Biden administration. Hilarious. I mean, of course, their policies are not so good. And that's why the economy did so badly, obviously. I mean, with inflation and other things. So thank God Trump got elected. That's just beautiful. But okay, I'm going to continue talking about that in a moment. I'm just going to have a quick break. And so on this break, I'm going to say, plain bold clothing, live life to the fullest. What happened the last time you went to a party? While on a great adventure, you'll be the life of the party with clothing like our authentic plain goose items. You'll get exuberant designs you'll need. We usually have some sales, so you can save money too. Be like a goose on a plane on a flight to a great adventure. Go to plainbold.com today. That's plain, like airplane, plainbold.com. Now let me get right back to the topic of the concept of a second Gilded Age possibly happening right now. Well, the Biden administration, before the Democrats lost the presidential election with Kamala, they were talking about, there was an official talking about this. And they had a point though. With the amount of billionaires compared to the people are not even close to billionaires. But one thing that they didn't raise was how monopoly laws are not being enforced. So maybe that should be one thing that should be addressed. That's what I'm thinking. That's a valid point, but nobody said that in that article. They were trying to say maybe more regulation is what's necessary, and definitely not. And thank God that Trump's back. Forget about regulation like that. We don't need that. But like, that's just not good. It just don't work. But either way, so like monopoly laws though are something that should be looked at. And then again, one thing that was mentioned in that article was about how and actually this was a valid point. In the 90s, and they didn't mention Bill Clinton, but that was a president back then. And in the 90s, in the late 90s, they took away a law that was enacted during the Great Depression regarding regulation on the stock market. And that actually did trigger like a lot of billionaires to happen. But okay, the other things like at the same time include that come to my mind personally are things like, people should have more ambition. Like during COVID, a lot of people kind of lost hope. If you're hearing this right now and you think about how you were before COVID happened and you recall that you had more ambition back in those days before COVID even happened, and nowadays you don't feel that ambitious no more because of just like how things happened since then, maybe you should rethink life and try to become more ambitious, because then next thing you know, maybe today you're just middle class, but maybe a few years from now, with that added ambition brought right back to you, next thing you know, you're a multi-millionaire. Maybe one day you could become a billionaire. People got to believe in themselves again. That's another huge factor. And it's like so important. And that's hilarious too, because in the article I read, they never brought up such a point, and that's so important. It really is true. But okay, so now I'm going to do one more quick break, and then I'm going to finish off the episode since we're getting close to that 10-minute mark that I was talking about. Now, okay, so I'm just going to say quickly right here how great it is watching videos that really get at topics that interest you, that are to the point, entertaining and informative, intrigue and excite you, and much more. Watch videos like that at Currently Electrifying Videos on YouTube. But okay, so now I'm going to talk about the last topic that I'm going to talk about right here before I finish off this episode. But I'm going to talk more about it on the next episode because I don't really got too much time. So I'm just going to talk about it real quick. And it's about a global natural gas boom that's beginning to take shape. Yes, I read an article about this, and that is about how it's like crazy. There's like a huge supply of natural gas that's been discovered, and it's like going to create a boom in that industry. So that's actually really good news, especially with like all this bull about like climate. Like, who cares? They gotta, countries are acting like they gotta cut emissions, carbon, and all this bull, Well, forget about that, because now we're entering a natural gas boom. Like, there's so much evidence of this, like new discoveries of natural gas. It's beautiful. Like, that's going to lower prices, and it's going to be good for the economy, no matter what country you're in, all over the world. So that's good news. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next episode, but that's what I really wanted to say on that last topic right there. But okay, so this is the end of my third episode from the Electric Current Rundown with me, your host, Phil Defiance. So just keep in mind, I'll always say, I'm here to encourage the spread of intriguing knowledge that can spark fires in the minds of those seeking inspiration and truly improving the world. So keep an eye out for my next episodes, because I'm going to keep making more and more of them on schedule according to my website, electriccurrentrundown.com. And I'll be also posting some bonus episodes like this one too. So my official episodes will be 15 minutes, and then a lot of my bonus episodes will be 10 minutes like this one. So keep an eye out. And okay, so that's the end of the episode. So have a good one.